Police hang their heads in shame as Wayne Couzens gets another 19 months for indecent exposure and are told they might have saved Sarah Everard.
These men were prolific sexual offenders.
Injustice for women. Cases of indecent exposure are rising, but prosecutions are plummeting.
Reported to police for indecent exposure, yet time and time again the warning signs were missed. They would go on to rape and murder. In 2019, serial sex offender Pavel Relevich was living in Hull with his wife and children. One night in January, he was prowling the streets before he attacked, raped and murdered 21-year-old student Libby Squire. But this wasn't an isolated incident. For at least 18 months before, Relevich had been targeting women in Hull, staring through windows as they got changed, exposing himself. At the time, police said there didn't appear to be any pattern or link.
I could see a link between his offending and then the eventual rape and murder of my daughter.
Today, Libby's mum Lisa told MPs sexual offences that don't involve physical contact should be given harsher punishments. They are crimes which often lead to rape and murder.
Do you think that's part of the problem, that as a society we haven't taken things like indecent exposure seriously enough? We've kind of made light of them in a way.
Yes, I think so. I think it's been generations of women who have just grown to accept that behaviour. But it's not normal behaviour, it's not acceptable behaviour, and we need to change that.
In Libby's case, before she died, she told you that somebody had kind of exposed themselves to her.
Yes, it would have been November before she was killed, and she rang me to say that on her way home that somebody had exposed himself to her, and she was absolutely raging. She was so angry. We spent an hour on the phone and I talked her down, but I didn't say to her to go and report it because I didn't know better, but I do know better now.
The number of cases of indecent exposure has risen significantly over the past 5 years, increasing by more than 25% in England and Wales. But while police recorded cases have increased, the actual number of convictions has remained low. Last year, there were nearly 13,000 reports, but just 640 convictions.
We need to be seeing that the reports match up with the charging and the prosecutions for these types of crimes, because when people who do it find there's no consequences, no action is taken, they can become more bold, they can be more willing to go on and harm more women.
The National Police Chiefs Council told this programme they take incidents of indecent exposure and voyeurism very seriously and, where possible, prosecute.
The first report should be the last report because that person should be, dealt with there and then. When you hear on the news or see on the news another woman has been killed who's, by a man who's had a history of non-contact sexual offences, I just get that, that impending sense of doom and think, oh, here we go again. Nothing's been learnt. We're not learning. We're not changing things. So it makes me more determined to change things.
Libby was killed just as her life was taking off. 5 years on, and her mum Lisa wants to keep her memory alive.
I just wondered if we could ask, what was Libby like? What kind of person was she?
She was amazing. She was absolutely lovely. She was complex, very complex, but the most wonderful daughter, the most wonderful big sister. She was the best friend you could have. So funny, incredibly funny. I don't think she knew how funny she was. And just a really genuine person. What you saw is what you got. And yeah, she's left a huge hole in so many people's lives.